Good morning. Welcome to the second day of the 20th April conference on Forsaight and Development Innovation Policies. I'm Mario Cervantes from the OECD, and I will be the chair of this session that focuses on global value chains. We know now that international trade is organized more and more along the value chains. And this is a way for countries also to increase value added in their production and move up the innovation chain. So we have a few speakers this morning. Our first speaker is Kyoon Lee from National Seoul University, who will give us the experience of Korea, the art of economic catch-up and leapfrogging in the global value chain. So without further ado, I would like to ask Professor Lee to give us his view on the global value chain and how countries can benefit.
Thank you, Chairman. It's a great honor for me to be here at this important occasion. I'd like to thank you organizers for bringing me here, also for the excellent organization, excellent framework. So my topic is on the catch-up in global value chain. I'll try to say something on Russia at the end, okay, although I'm not expert on Russia. Okay. Is it working?
You must point there. No?
Change to next script. Okay. So let me first say what is catch-up. There's a famous article by Abramovich with the title "Catching Up, Forging Ahead, and Falling Behind." In the context, here catching up means closing the gap between you and your target or your benchmark economies and firms. National level, it can be in terms of per capita income, share of world GDP. Firm level, it can be a market share of companies. Basically, it's about rise and decline of nations and firms. So this shows what is by catch-up with US as benchmark, showing the country's per capita income. Korea was only less than 20% US, but achieved around 70% US, which is similar to Japan in terms of PPP-based per capita GDP. But that's not the case for all countries. Some countries very slow catch-up, even falling behind. So there is a concept called middle income trap. If your income remains 20 to 40% of US level for many decades, it's called middle income trap. And many countries seems to be in the trap. So there's a big issue for many countries and international community like World Bank, IMF. Here's Russia. Russia has made very strong catch-up. It used to only 20% or 30% of US, but now reached 50% by 2013. After that, there were sanctions, so there was a catch-up stopped. So Russia need to find a way to go over that sanction. Maybe you can try to leapfrog, using sanction as a window of opportunity to try more indigenous innovation. So today I'll talk about role of GVC in this catching up and leapfrogging, and based on my already online published article in European Journal of Development Research, from GVC to innovation system. Also based on my my previous book, also another book coming just this month from Cambridge about the art of catch-up. So in the literature, GVC, like Baldwin, they say that there is hope for latecomers to rely on GVC, so they don't have to bother to develop all those domestic industries, but they can try to specialize in the best position for themselves. But there are limitations because that even if you join GVC, one matter is more to how to capture more part of the global profit. And if you remain in the low-end segment GVC, you are making not much money, but if that's the case, you are stuck in middle income trap. So key is how to achieve upgrading rather than just participating in GVC. So for example, Mexico joined GVC through NAFTA with the free trade USA, but the income level kept declining after the free trade. That means GBC cannot be a solution unless you achieve upgrading. China now 30%, exactly in the still middle of the middle income ranges. Okay? Brazil was same, 30% US level. Brazil has been rather declining slightly. So the key question raised by Lumbar and others is that we have two choices: join GBC, for hope we'll be able to upgrade. Okay. But another thing is that taking more humanitarian innovation system view, we can still try to engage in more active trade industrial policies, okay, to promote certain sectors with a bigger learning opportunity. So we are facing two choices, but actually what we need is integration between two approaches, because just joining GBC does not guarantee you upgrading. Also, even if you pursue more industrial policies, still you need to learn from outside. So you should arrange access to outside knowledge. So what we need is more kind of integration between these two. So eventually find out more dynamic mode of engagement with GBC with the long-term goal of upgrading. So from this view, literature GBC has a limitation because they already assume their leadership position or flagship company always in the form from the north. Okay. And they take some static view of five governance mode, but it's how to move from hierarchical to more horizontal mode. And also, they assume more GBC already better. It's some linear view, but I'm proposing some different view, which is that non-linear view. So you should join GBC early stages, but in the middle, you should reduce GBC participation because you need to increase domestic value added. So if you build some capability, you can still join again as your company become more globalized. So in GBC, out GBC, by increasing domestic value added, then you can in again by internationalization. So this is a non-linear view. And I'm proposing this view will try to validate this. And also, as mentioned in some literatures, upgrading GBC is not that simple. So process for upgrading happening some extent, but rarely functional upgrading. Functional upgrading means that you are going into higher end segment like R&D or brand or marketing, because there are some barriers in terms of IPR regulation, brand, technology. Those are the barriers in those upgrading. Okay, so how to go over those barriers? That's a key issue in GBC literature. For example, we can talk in terms of OEM, ODM, OBM sequence. OEM means you are doing only processing using labors. ODM means you are doing design. Finally, OBM means you are doing everything, including brand. So this is a typical process upgrade, but it's not easy. For example, Foxconn is doing ODM for Apple. Okay? But it's still better than just doing processing or using your labors. So final goal is to become like OBM, but that's not easy. This company from Korea making flush toys, they used to OEM.
Sorry, can I interrupt you? Since I'm supposed to be summarizing this, I do not know your abbreviations. OBM, OM.
Own equipment manufacturing.
Oh, it's right here. Okay.
Own design manufacturing.
I'm too
own brand manufacturing.
too close for that. Yeah.
So this means you are doing more value chain rather than doing just processing. Okay. So this company making first toys used to be OEM for Disney World, but they eventually tried to sell their own brand. But it's not easy because nobody is willing to buy from this unknown company. So during OEM transition, they had hard time in selling their in the world market. But eventually, they're able to overcome the crisis, become now globally top 2 or 3 company in this segment. So become successful OBM company, but there used more than 700 OEM company in Korea making flush toys. Only one this company become OBM. That means how difficult it is to achieve upgrading in the value chain. Only one company out of 700 become OBM. There are many companies lost factory because Korean wage become too high, so factory all moved out of Korea to neighboring Asian countries. So, and there are many the counter-attack when you try OBM. For example, this company faced the existing Disney or other company tried to cancel order to this company because how can you dare try OBM? you're supposed to be only OEM or ODM. So there is an example of variation in terms of upgrading. Also, they charge IPR, saying that you are copying my product, you are copying my design. So those are possible risks when you try to upgrading into design or brand. So you got to be prepared for such counterattacks. So this case of another SM in Korea, they are going global, but they faced patent dispute the incumbent company. So until they solved this litigation, the sales was stopped, stagnated. We show risk of upgrading in terms of IPR litigations. If you turn to Brazil, Brazil is very strong in footwear, making a lot of shoes. But there are two types of companies. One company very dependent upon MNCs, remaining as just OEM makers. Another group, small group, trying to be independent. They start supplying the MNC, but try to sell their own brand with their own innovation. Long-term consequence is that first group disappeared because rise of China. So overall sales export in Brazil declined. Majority group, but only a couple of them survived who tried to become independent, pushing their own brand and technologies. Okay? So this shows risk and potentials of OBM strategy or upgrade. So that's what I'm saying. You got to join GBC, but that's not the end. You got to be creating more domestic value added in terms of going into design or brand and marketing R&D. Okay? Then after you build up your capability, you got to be globalized again because you're facing more rising domestic wages. You have to send factory low-end segment abroad. Okay? Keeping high-end segment inside. Okay? So this we can measure by this FBA. FBA means that share of foreign value added in gross export. So this is Korea joined GBC, but from mid-80s to this 1990, declining. That means Korea increasing share of domestic value added in gross export. That means reducing FBA. This is process upgrading, getting more in domestic value added. This rarely happens in typical country, in emerging country. But now Korea value added too high. Korea now globalized, so increasing GBC participation again. This is the most desirable upgrading pattern happened in Korea, Taiwan, also recently in China too. They show declining for the last 10 years in China. So China established their own GBC. They are ready to go abroad. That's the China's Belt and Road Initiative. This is concern of the Trump. China already established their own value chain, rather than relying on US value chain. That's the concern by Trump. And if you look at just auto sectors, this is China auto sector, keep declining. China localizing more of intermediate part supplies. It happened also Korea before. But now Korea is sending over because Korea sending all factory out of Korea to other countries, including in Russia too. Okay? But Thailand, this is still high. In Thailand relying on all Japanese component and suppliers, not much making domestic value added. And the case of Brazil, but it still remain. This is Mexico, very high, still relying on foreign value added rather than creating domestic value added. So, in terms of growth, I try to propose this U-shaped line. In the upper middle country, you are facing this decreasing ratio, but after high income, it should be increasing again. So this is critical part that should happen. Upper middle income countries to go beyond middle income status to high income status. So final part, I try to show some correspondence between this creating more domestic value chain and creating more local knowledge bases in terms of a national European system. So I'm taking again this national European system perspective, which is about the mechanism generate knowledge and diffuse knowledge inside the national boundaries. So if you have better NIS, you'll be better in performance and innovation, also economic growth. That's basic assumptions of Schumpeterian economics. So in my others, I used 5 variables to measure NIS. And today let me show this one variable, which is about degree that you create knowledge locally and diffuse locally. This is kind of a national level self-citation. So this is the income level of knowledge creation, diffusion in high income country, about 15%. That means or 15% you cite patent owned by same country person. This ratio Korea time very low. We kept now same level as the high-income country. So it's a convergence in terms of increasing knowledge localization ratio, but that's not the case in other middle-income countries. Okay. So this is very important indication of increasing innovation capabilities. And let me show the link between these indicators and GBC upgrading. This is regression. So dependent variable is 1 minus is FBA, which is 1 minus DBA. DBA means domestic value added. So higher means you have more domestic value added, and which is explained by this high degree of knowledge localization. So the more local knowledge, you are creating more domestic value added. So they show linkage from local knowledge creation to more domestic value added. And per capita GDP is square. That means U-shape, which I hypothesized. Okay, controlling country size, manufacturing shares, and so on. So this shows a linkage from innovation system variable, which is knowledge localization, to GBC variable, which is share of domestic value added in total gross export. So if we summarize, we confirm this in and out in hypothesis. In other words, early stages you got to join GBC, but in the middle you got to reduce GBC participation by increasing share of domestic value added. That's the critical part, upgrade. Then you opened up again to join GBC in terms of globalization of your innovation system or production system. So that's what happened in more successful emerging countries. Early days Korea, Taiwan, or recently China. Okay. Now we found some linkage by doing regressions. Linkage between innovation system variables and the GBC variables. So finally, if I say something to Russia, maybe a common lesson is that we got to go beyond means of GBC, because GBC does not guarantee automatic upgrading. You got to eventually create more domestic local knowledge bases. That's the key. But GBC can be initial learning channels, but you got to be standalone eventually to be adult. Okay. So one option is that GBC is chain. You got to break the chain by MNCs to create your own chains. So all successful catching up countries involve such local or domestic value chains. And another alternative is that create your GBC in resource-based sectors where Russia might have some advantage. Thereby, you can create your own flagship companies, at least in some GBC, which is on your own locally based advantages. Or you can try leapfrog into emerging or new technical areas or science-based areas by using rent traffic from resource-based sectors. So you can make multiple resource, then invest in that into new emerging field, new emerging science-based fields. Thereby, if you try leapfrogging, that means you can be less bothered by incumbent countries' IPR variations, because you are going on the frontiers. IPR is less firmly established by dominant companies. And Russia seems to be ready in terms of a very high capability in science and technology innovations. Okay. Or like China, you can try to acquire foreign GBC, brand technology, by international M&As. That's what China did. Rather than it's taking time to build up GBC, you can just acquire them. You can acquire fresh companies, thereby quickly acquire their brand technologies. That's what China is doing abroad, and that's another also concerned by Trump. Okay? So they're trying to restrict China on that. So it's actually on time. I'm done. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lee. We have about 2 minutes for 1 or 2 questions from the audience, either for clarification. I mean, you have highlighted the importance of not only globalizing the value chain, but also promoting local knowledge creation and linking the two. And you provided also some options for Russia moving forward. Now, in one point that maybe you didn't clarify is the issue of manufacturing. in many of the examples you provided, the global chain involved in manufacturing. What in your options for Russia, what would you recommend in terms of the manufacturing sector?
I mean, which sectors to specialize, or
How to create value, knowledge, bring more knowledge to the manufacturing sector.
so the manufacturing in many sectors already quite established. In other words, there is already strong incumbents, strong leaders and followers. So it's not easy to break into existing manufacturing sectors unless there is a disruptive technical innovation, which is happening nowadays in terms of fourth industrial revolution. So in that sense, there is a new window of opportunity coming up. So Russia might explore new emerging sectors rather than following the existing manufacturing paradigm. So that's why I'm saying we can use this opportunity of emergence of new fourth industrial revolution to be using that as the windows. That's what Russia can do, because Russia is strong in basic sciences and in some segment of technical capability. Otherwise, in general, you can try to create more domestic knowledge creation, diffusion mechanism. That's what eventually, that's the basis of whatever you do in manufacturing or other sectors. Okay? Yes. In that sense, Russia is more promising than other typical emerging countries, even more than Brazil or and so on. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Lee. We move now to our next speaker in this session, on Yuri Sumachev of HSC, who will present the framework and projections for industrial policy in Russia. So maybe we can have an answer to Professor Lee's recommendations from the Russian side.
Уважаемые коллеги, добрый день. Прежде всего я хотел бы извиниться, потому что мое выступление предполагалось в следующей секции, и оно больше связано не с цепочками добавленной стоимости, это как раз будет обсуждаться, из-за чего я не смогу поучаствовать в следующей части на соответствующем круглом столе, структурные аспекты торговой политики. А сейчас я выступаю с вопросом, касающимся больше politics в области промышленной политики и научно-технологической политики. Пожалуйста, первый слайд. Кликер. У меня кликер, отлично. Куда его ориентировать лучше?
Дальше. Просто вправо-лево.
Окей. Итак, почему структурная политика столь чувствительна к конфигурации групп интересов и взаимодействиях между собой? Потому что структурная политика всегда связана с выделением выигравших и проигравших, то есть она приводит к формированию таких групп. И второе, это всегда связано с некоторым перераспределением ресурсов, о котором говорил и доктор Ли в экономике. И это перераспределение ресурсов, оно всегда осуществляется в настоящее время, а при этом адвокатируется некоторыми выгодами, которые, вообще говоря, будут в долгосрочной перспективе. Это первый аспект. Второй. В процессе усиления централизации власти в России произошла, скажем так, некоторая реконфигурация стандартных, принятых вообще представлений о группах интересов. Основные группы интересов теперь, они больше сгруппированы вокруг государственных интересов. И если раньше там любили выделять социологи те группы интересов, которые произошли от силовиков, от либералов, от бизнеса, от технократов, то теперь получается, что внутри различных позитивных государственных групп интересов могут присутствовать представители всех этих категорий, собираться под них. Третий тезис. Правительство я не знаю, будет ему обидно это или нет, но это, конечно же, абстракция. Это везде абстракция, потому что оно всегда состоит из множества различных министерств, иногда даже подразделений этих министерств, со своими целями, задачами, вообще говоря, ценностями, стилем работы, подходами к кому, какие, как надо делить ресурсы, ну и вообще говоря, отличающимся тем, что ресурсы, которые на распределение которых влияют эти министерства, они тоже сильно разные. Несмотря на централизм в основных решениях, мы можем говорить, что все-таки есть признаки, что государство в целом, ну, прежде всего по своим таким стандартным качественным характеристикам, оно достаточно слабое. То есть мы видим, что весьма прогрессивные инициативы верхнего уровня могут потом затухать и искажаться на более низких уровнях. Мы видим некоторые вещи, связанные с недостатками меритократии и явные недостатки горизонтальной координации, проблемы, связанные с формированием реальной политической команды, когда бы все министерства работали согласованно и могли бы реализовывать скоординированную политику, когда требуется использование разнородных ресурсов. Во многих случаях поведение policymakers может показаться необъяснимым. Оно может показаться необъяснимым по той причине, что в существенной мере это поведение зависит от оценки. И вот эта система оценки у нас в значительной мере смещена на патернализм и память СССР. И в этом смысле, да, интересно было бы посмотреть, а вообще говоря, какие у нас вот можно выделить государственные группы интересов, как они взаимодействуют между собой, при каких условиях их позиции усиливаются и ослабляются. Немножко о проблемах, очень кратко. Вот есть совокупность проблем в российской industrial policy, и среди них можно выделить такие, которые связаны с компенсационным характером. То есть, как правило, наиболее бурное творчество в структурной политике происходит, когда есть кризис. Второе, то, что очень узкие приоритеты, ориентированность на отрасли, то, что очень высокая дробность структурной политики. Прежде всего предъявляется внимание основное крупным корпорациям, сильная асимметрия в выборе направления развития и акцент больше на процессе, нежели на конечных результатах. Много различных пилотов без конечных результатов. Вот какое во всем этих проблемах имеет место группа интересов? Для этого я бы предложил взглянуть на industrial policy не с позиции той политики, которая призвана формировать структурные изменения, а более такое политэкономическое определение, что это инструмент обеспечения политической стабильности за счет перераспределения доходов. Есть другой вариант. Это инструмент перераспределения, создания новых рент под давлением групп интересов. В любом случае, во всех государствах структурная политика – это прежде всего очень серьезный инструмент для коммуникации с обществом. Потому что именно благодаря этому инструменту можно заявить населению о том, как будет выглядеть экономика в будущем. И в этом смысле на нее накладываются вот как раз опять же все эти воздействия, связанные со спецификой групп интересов. Поэтому на первом месте в структурной политике реально всегда идут социальные задачи, это занятость, только потом уже экономические и, в принципе, вместе с экономическими, конечно же, политические задачи. Итак, какие группы интересов, наверное, можно выделить? 4 группы интересов. Вот вы знаете, где-то до 2008-2009 года реально мы выделяли 3 группы интересов. Это бюджетная, структурная, отраслевая. То есть есть группа интересов, государственная, замечу, потому что это позитивная повестка с позиции государства. Обеспечить стабильность, обеспечить приемлемый бюджет. И эта группа интересов четкая, и вокруг нее собираются, соответственно, вот такие классические группы интересов. Вторая стандартная группа интересов, структурная, которая больше смотрит на перспективу и говорит о том, что нужно структуру экономики менять, нужно диверсифицировать, нужно делать более развитой экспорт обработанной продукции и так далее и тому подобное. И это тоже совершенно нормальная позитивная повестка для государства. Третья группа интересов – отраслевая, где больше акцент на том, чтобы минимизировать какие-то социальные проблемы, какие-то риски в моногородах, неэффективность каких-то рынков, когда цены разгоняются, это значит обеспечение социально приемлемых цен для населения, и это все укладывается вот в эту группу. И я говорю, где-то с 2008-2009 года, можно сказать, что так достаточно четко проявилась такая группа, сформировалась, и она стала на государственном уровне восприниматься как приоритетная. Это научно-технологическая группа, та группа, которая заявляет, что необходимо обеспечивать предложение инноваций, необходимы научно-технологические прорывы, что для развития государства принципиально важно качество человеческого капитала, образование и наука. Вот вы можете, опять же, посмотреть на эту таблицу, я не буду все ее комментировать. Очевидно, что здесь разные отношения со стороны этих групп интересов как таковой структурной политики. Скажем так, со стороны Минфина оно настороженное ко всем вариантам, в случае дополнительных расходов из бюджета резко отрицательное. Это со стороны бюджетной группы. Это вполне естественно. Со стороны структурной группы позитивное, если речь идет про горизонтальную политику, и настороженное, если речь идет про вертикальную политику, потому что для структурной группы интересов это выглядит как некоторое противоречие с целями развития конкурентной среды и нормальных мотиваций для всех хозяйствующих субъектов. Для отраслевой группы, да, она, конечно, заинтересована в industrial policy, но прежде всего вертикальной, когда выделяются те или иные отрасли, устанавливаются те или иные приоритеты. И, наконец, научно-технологическая группа в целом положительная, особенно в тех случаях, когда речь идет про технологическую структурную политику, основанную прежде всего на технологических изменениях. И опять же, не буду долго останавливаться, конечно же, у каждой из этих групп происходит усиление, ослабление позиций в разное время. Если там есть большой дефицит бюджета, будет усиливаться позиция бюджетной группы, там при сокращении традиционных источников роста будет усиливаться позиция структурной группы, которая как раз и должна найти новые ренты, сформировать и так далее и тому подобное. Проблема есть в одном, что иногда получается, что одновременно и бюджет ограничен, и ясно, что нужно искать новые источники, и вот тут начинается действительно уже достаточно интересное взаимодействие между этими группами. Как, в принципе, они транслируются на политику? Здесь 4 квадранта, 2 оси. Одна ось – это период, скажем так, упреждения структурной политики. Долгосрочный, краткосрочный. И вторая ось по вертикали – это то, какие инструменты используются. Финансовые или регуляционные. И вот как раз получается, что с позиции горизонтальной политики у нас прежде всего выделяется бюджетная группа и структурная группа. Структурная группа на дальнюю перспективу ориентирована, бюджетная группа на ближнюю. То же самое 2 верхних квадранта. Отраслевая группа ориентирована на то, прежде всего, чтобы спасти кого-то, у кого проблемы возникли еще вчера, и решить проблему вот сейчас, которая есть на рынке, преимущественно. Это абстракция, конечно, некоторая. При этом она ориентирована прежде всего на вертикальную политику, на применение финансовых инструментов. Научно-технологическая группа, безусловно, оперирует понятиями долгосрочной перспективы, но опять же с определением, а в какие технологические направления должны пойти те или иные ресурсы. Это очень краткое представление об этапах в российской industrial policy, структурной политике. Скажем так, было много всего разного. Применялись различные инструменты, она существенно менялась уже буквально через 4-3 года. Потому она вертикальная или горизонтальная, она связана с крупными корпорациями или попытка запустить там инициативу, она ориентирована на модель инноваций pull или push. В общем, вот принципиальные изменения, и возникает ощущение, что здесь, конечно же, не только группы интересов влияют, а что еще? я бы хотел обратить внимание на такие серьезнейшие категории, как для переключений в структурной политике, как ограничения. Ограничения бюджетные и ограничения технологические. Вот посмотрите, период 2000-2003 года. Восстановительный рост, жесткие бюджетные ограничения. И при этом полное отсутствие технологических ограничений. Потому что есть еще некоторые заделы, которые были, и нет никаких ограничений на внешнем рынке для заимствования технологий. 2004-2008 год. Тучные годы, то, что у нас называется. Нет бюджетных ограничений практически. И нет ограничений по заимствованию. Самое достойное время. И здесь как раз приоритет получает отраслевая группа. А то, что было до этого, там приоритет. Денег нет, и надо искать какие-то источники развития. Это структурная группа и финансовая группа. Посткризисный период, 2010-2013 год. Уроки. Вот они просто наглядные уроки кризиса, неэффективность крупных компаний, явные провалы с научно-технологической политикой, то есть она нужна. И здесь на первый план выходит уже помимо структурной группы и финансовой группы научно-технологическая группа. И теперь нынешний момент, 2014-2018 год, мы находимся в условиях и ограничений бюджетных, не таких, как, конечно, которые были в 2000 году, и ограничений технологических. Потому что, первое, мы отстали, второе, у нас есть существенные ограничения по получению технологий на внешнем рынке. Тяжелые условия, на первый план выдвинулась отраслевая группа и научно-технологическая группа. Я объясню сейчас, почему. Здесь что важно иметь в виду, потому что можно обратить внимание, что как бы вот есть периоды с позицией ограничений, которые я называю, а те меры, которые предпринимает государство, совершенно разные. И industrial policy разная. В одном случае горизонтальная, как было после 2000 года, а в другом случае явно не горизонтальная, а вертикальная, как сейчас. И здесь надо просто иметь в виду, что если мы говорим про бюджетные ограничения, то специфика 2000 года, что они были одинаково сильны и на стороне государства и бизнеса. А в 2009 году они в основном были на стороне бизнеса. И государство реально из своих запасов помогало всем, кому хотело, и достаточно сильно. Поэтому была вертикальная компенсационная политика. А сейчас получилась интересная ситуация, что реально у бизнеса есть ресурсы, а государство очень хочет, чтобы эти ресурсы пошло в какие-то направления другие, на которые у него не хватает собственных средств. И поэтому тоже возникают некоторые достаточно экзотические инструменты такого квазинормативного понуждения бизнеса к участию в тех или иных направлениях. То же самое с технологическими ограничениями. Потому что они как бы усиливались для разных сторон в разной степени, и поэтому изменения происходили. Я не буду останавливаться вот на классическом треке инициативы, которая проходит. Там смысл в том, что входит она через пространство группы структурная группа, потому что всегда заявляется как нечто грандиозное, меняющее те доходы, которые будут. А потом она, как правило, начинает уже захватываться вертикализованными группами, она начинает обрастать финансовыми инструментами поддержки, то есть перестает быть горизонтальной и становится вертикальной. А после этого происходят еще некоторые трансформации, и там существенным образом снижаются мотивации к обучению. Что мы сейчас наблюдаем? Мы сейчас наблюдаем существенное смещение. Вот есть два варианта таких базовых для, это, скажем так, ближе к научно-технологической политике. Это политика догоняющего развития и политика лидерства. Мы, безусловно, сейчас сдвинулись к политике лидерства. И одна научно-технологического. И одна, и другая концепция имеют свои преимущества и недостатки. И почему мы сейчас сдвинулись концепции лидерства? Есть несколько соображений. Первое. Не очень успешным оказалось то, что пытались сделать в улучшении бизнес-климата, в повышении мотивации. Вот просто не очень получается в силу тех или иных причин. Поэтому возникло желание перейти на какую-то другую модель, может, с ней получится лучше. Это раз. Второе. Объективно происходит усиление централизации решений, а когда есть централизация решений, это дополнительная предпосылка к тому, чтобы реализовывать стратегию лидерства, потому что там нужны некоторые стартовые запускающие решения со стороны государств, которые потом подхватываются бизнесом. Третье. Это, безусловно, ограничение в доступе к передовым технологиям, и тогда, да, государство начинает активизировать пуш-модель в инновациях, пытаясь запустить вот это предложение инноваций внутри экономики. И, наконец, четвертое, это такой социальный фактор, который тоже достаточно выгодный, потому что здесь возникает память великой державы, научной, мы восстанавливаем то, где мы когда-то были, и это тоже звучит хорошо. Но какие здесь есть следствия и возможные риски важные? Их надо учитывать и просто думать, как развернуть эту политику тоже в определенный момент времени. Это усиление, дальнейшая вертикализация решений и тем самым сокращение пространства для инициатив, прежде всего для частной инициативы. Второе – это суммативность оценки. То есть вот эта вот логика KPI, нацеленных на конечный результат, а это очень, прежде всего, путь к тому, чтобы накапливать риски, чтобы не было обучения в ходе реализации той или иной политики. Третье. Оно вроде бы и хорошо, когда вот возникает такой переход к стратегии лидерства, безусловно, усиливается проектный подход у государства. Оно начинает выстраивать вот эти вещи. И, что называется, в проектном режиме, в режиме подвига у нас задачи решаются хорошо, но при этом государство, с моей точки зрения, начинает хуже работать в своем функциональном смысле. В смысле исполнения рутин, в смысле регулирования для всех. И тогда у вас получается селективность регулирования, слабые эффекты от конкуренции, ограниченные предпосылки к быстрому распространению новых технологий. То есть в чем возникает принципиальный момент? А как же все-таки в рамках, безусловно, необходимой стратегии научно-технологического лидерства, попытки достичь где-то прорывов по отдельным направлениям, тем не менее обеспечить подхват этих прорывов в национальной экономике? Потому что можно обладать некоторой совокупностью передовых технологий, которые при этом эффективно не применяются в собственной экономике и в ней не распространяются. И здесь возникает существенный вызов для системы государственного управления. Как все-таки наряду с какими-то уникальными задачами научиться более качественно выполнять, вообще говоря, стандартные задачи. Как наряду с отдельными замечательными зонами, технопарками и оазисами сделать так, чтобы на других территориях, чтобы действительно эти зоны стали примером для других территорий, а не раздражителем для других территорий, потому что они понимают, что все равно не могут преодолеть этот барьер. Это, мне кажется, вопросы достаточно серьезные, важные. Я благодарю вас за внимание. Спасибо.
Thank you, Professor Simachev, for this very enlightening and fascinating overview of industrial policy over the past decades in Russia. You highlight the role of the different interest groups, the weaknesses of the horizontal coordination, some of the constraints both nationally and internationally, and you remind us the importance of the market signals for structural change. Without the market signals, the investment from the business side will flounder. Without the regulations that foster, that give the certainty in the market for innovation. And you also talk about the lack of competition as a continued barrier to the structural change. We will have time for a discussion a bit later, but we now have a Skype conference speaker, so I don't want to delay longer the his intervention. The next speaker is Mr. Carlo, I can read this. Carlo Pietrobelli from the University of Rome, who will talk about firm-level technological effects for upgrading and catching up the case of Italy. Professor Pietrobelli, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Very well. So welcome to the session on global value chains in Moscow at the 20th Academic Conference. So I would, without further ado, like to invite you to share with us your experience, Italy's experience and lessons on the potential for global value chains to help countries catch up and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thanks to the organizers for inviting me. I'm sorry I'm not there with you. I would have liked to be there, but family commitments did not allow me to be there. But I'm glad that thanks to this digital systems, it feels like being there and being very close to Mario Cervantes and Kеун and several other colleagues and friends. I wonder if I can use a PowerPoint which I prepared to summarize some of the main arguments. Let me see whether.
Yes, we have your PowerPoint. Oh, you're going to open it?
I think so. Let me see.
There we go.
Yes, you should. Are you seeing my screen at the moment? Let me see. Are you seeing it now?
Yes, we are.
Okay, very good. So let me briefly start with a brief outline. The main points I would like to make today have to do with first of all, the first statement is that GVCs indeed have a potential and indeed are a part of the international economic system. However, achieving this potential is not an automatic process at all. Fulfillment of the necessary conditions is not taken for granted. There are several elements that influence this process that have to do with the governance of the value chain and with what firms do in the countries and the technological efforts that are carried out at the firm level. And thirdly, I would like to argue a little bit that GVCs need to interact and constantly interact with innovation systems. There's indeed a process of co-evolution that Keun hinted at some minutes ago. I will provide some descriptive evidence on some patterns or some paradigms of co-evolution that we observed in different cases in the world. And finally, I will spend a few words on the policy. And I will a categorization of GVC-oriented policy. I don't know, there is an echo now. What's happening? I hope it doesn't. Okay, that sounds better. Okay, and let me make a little advertising here because we have a forthcoming special issue for the Journal of International Business Policy, for which a call for papers is still open, where we are going to discuss the theme of GVC-oriented policies, and we invite papers by scholars, perhaps some of the scholars that are attending the Moscow conference today to contribute to this new special issue that we're preparing. The deadline is still far, it's September this year, and hopefully someone in the audience could be interested in taking part in this initiative. So, first of all, value chains, are they something interesting? They definitely are interesting, and are they new? To some extent they are. There's this phenomenon which can be summarized in one's expression, functional integration with geographic fragmentation. So at the same time we have a process of fragmentation of production, of fragmentation of various activities, adding value to the process of production. but at the same time, we're observing a process of functional integration. So there's somebody, or there's firms, or there's organizations and different forms of frameworks that help governing and integrating functionally the sequence of activities that are carried out to add value. And these kind of organizations operate in many different sectors. So we have, that's a diagram of what happens in the mining sector, for example. Strongly natural intensive, with the mine exploitation, and then the processing, and then the horizontal and vertical linkages that lead to the utilization of the metals being extracted for a number of different industries. The relationships that we observe across all these activities are organized following a functional integration. And even if they're spread out geographically, even in the case of the mining sector, still there's that process of governing these flows which matter a lot, and which is itself a condition for upgrading and innovation in local enterprises of different kinds. Clearly, value chains are a fact. There's a number of organizations that are producing different reports and different studies and statistics. Eurostat, as well as the UN Statistical Office, are providing us, together with the OECD, of course, a number of new ways of classifying and measuring value chains. This is one that was pioneered by Ferrantino and colleagues at the World Bank, where they measure and map intermediate and final goods in a number of sectors, and they proxy the concept of value chain or global value chain as the percentage of intermediate goods that are traded internationally. And we see that these percentages constantly around above 25%, around 30 or 35%, indicating that value chains have been in existence for a number of years, and for many countries, though of course there are differences across regions, and we observe what we would probably expect. East Asia and Pacific, as well as South Asia, tend to be much more integrated in GVCs through their exports and imports than other countries. Sub-Saharan Africa is possibly the least integrated region in the world. Europe and Central Asia, including Russia, is in between the two extremes, with relatively high percentages of GVC participation in international trade flows. I've been speaking about international trade, but I don't think that value chains are only a trade phenomenon. And there's so much interest in global value chains, in spite of recent reports that would indicate that there's been a little decrease in value chain intensity over the last few years. And this success in the literature, as well as in policy circles, have to do with at least three elements, which I mentioned in the slide. First of all, of course, value chains provide various sets of suppliers from different countries, and including developing countries, access to demanding and sophisticated markets. That's a key to accessing international markets. But secondly, value chains may offer access to knowledge, technology, organization, which would not be otherwise achievable in countries far from the center, or less advanced than more developed countries. And thirdly, and related to the first two elements, value chains offer opportunities for learning and innovation. I repeat the word opportunities because opportunities need to be exploited, and the exploitation that takes place in a specific context, that is the innovation system, and needs to be coupled with firm-level efforts. Why does it matter to our present discussion? There's quite a large literature that is stressing how being integrated in a value chain can help improve productivity in firms being part of the chain, This is a summary of a recent piece we published with colleagues on small business economics, where we use the World Bank Enterprise Survey data, firm level data, and we use the OECD TIVA, Trading Value Added data set for 30 Latin American countries, firm level and sectoral level data, which allowed us to conclude that firms integrating value chains tend to be more productive, and they tend to be more productive through a number of different mechanisms, including knowledge exchanges, deep interactions, learning by supplying, and so on. And the second major result is that, at least for Latin America, forward integration, that is being integrated closer to natural resources, and integrating the inputs coming from natural resources and adding value to natural resources, seems to provide better opportunities for productivity improvements. So it matters because it is definitely related to productivity, as well as governance. I reported here this famous diagram developed by Gary Gareffi and Sturgeon and John Humphrey, perhaps one of the most quoted papers in this kind of literature, that analyzes and presents 5 different modes of governance, of interactions and coordination among different kinds of firms. In our applied work, we explored the relationship between governance and firm level upgrading, and we managed to get encouraging results some years ago, linking the idea of global value chains with the idea of geographical agglomeration and clustering, and concluding that collective efficiency in enterprise clusters together with GVC governance indeed influences upgrading, and upgrading tended to be fostered more as far as product and process upgrading is concerned, and much less when we address the issue of functional upgrading, that is climbing up or venturing into new areas of activity within the value chain, and not simply improving products and efficiency at the same level at the same stage of the chain. And secondly, a different analysis we carried out with a colleague who's now high-level manager at the World Bank, Federica Saliola, where on the Cambridge Journal of Economics we published a report on Thailand, and we managed to measure governance through different indicators, including the level of product customization, the existence of requirements in design and quality, the kind and extent of technical cooperation, research and development cooperation and involvement in engaging buyers as well as suppliers. And we concluded that the GVC governance also had an impact on productivity and upgrading in Thai firms. So firm level efforts matter, GVC governance matter. Is this the whole story? I don't think it is. I think there's another major element that we need to take into account, that is the innovation system, something to which Kevin hinted at minutes ago. The concept of innovation systems that tends to focus on how interactions, linkages, relationships influence the process of innovation. And the key actors in this kind of literature are not only enterprises, but also institutions, organizations, research bodies, policy makers, as well as different kinds of organizations that may differ in different countries, where this huge literature concludes that what really determines innovation is what happens in the systems, along the relationships being carried out across the different agents. However, in my mind, this literature offers little attention to external linkages in the generation and diffusion of knowledge. And the advantage of that the GVC framework brings into this picture is a specific focus on what happens across languages, across relationships, how the relationships between lead firms buyers, suppliers at different stages of the value chain can affect the process of technology acquisition, diffusion, and the process of technological change and innovation. And the one way of bridging these two kinds of literature is by focusing on the specific learning mechanisms that operate in different types of global value chains. And some recent work we carried out with Roberta Lazzolotti, we managed to highlight a number of learning mechanisms operating in different kinds of value chains, whether learning occurs through only a competition effect, that is, tight and compelling standards imposed by buyers or lead firms, forcing suppliers to engage in competition and improving their performance and fulfilling standards, or sometimes lead firms supporting innovation and engaging in the learning activities of suppliers, or sometimes unintended knowledge spillovers. That's something that has been typically analyzed in economics literature, focusing on what happens, what spills over beyond the borders of individual firms. And in this simple table, we associate the type of governance that has been observed by Yerefi and colleagues to the different learning mechanisms within a GVC, from simple and accidental knowledge spillovers and imitation through the more the value chain has a relational form of governance, the more learning is mutual. It strongly depends on face-to-face interactions, or sometimes it is the result of deliberate knowledge transfer from lead firms and buyers to suppliers, even if they're part of a captive value chain. Finally, this is the last point I would like to touch upon, is a little analysis that is still a work in progress on the role of policies in this process, and how the role of policies needs to be based on the simple idea that there is a process of co-evolution between the mode of governance of GVCs and the level of development of innovation systems. In a recent paper, we looked at how innovation capabilities at the level of individual firms can change over time, and we managed to illustrate four typical patterns of development and co-evolution and improvement in innovation capabilities. And the arrows you see here as simple descriptions of how innovation capabilities can develop over time, increasing fast as with process A, or staying low and even decreasing with D, or developing in different ways, or like in B, being part of the chain, getting out and getting in again. This is what Kimberly was explaining minutes ago. Our descriptive evidence is looking at different examples and different illustrative trajectories of innovation capabilities and trying to link them to the co-evolution of GVCs and innovation systems. And we singled out a process of gradual development of innovation capabilities and in, explicitly linking the existence of value chains and GVC integration to the development of the innovation system, an aborted form of co-evolution where the level of depth and development of innovation systems in GVCs tend to be low. Yellow stands for low, green stands for higher or encouraging, and red stands for very low, and you see the colored circles would indicate that the border of of the circle indicates the initial status as far as GVC and innovation systems, and F, firm level kind of proficiency is at the beginning of the process, and then the color of the circle itself is what happens at the end of the process. And you see that, for example, in retrograding, even if the level of firm level capabilities and GVC's governance tend to be favorable to this process of innovation capabilities development, then the process does not improve. On the other hand, the innovation systems always fails to contribute to favoring this favorable process of interaction between firm level capabilities development and GVC governance and evolution. A couple of slides on policies. If we explicitly address the issue of co-evolution and how GVCs can influence the process of innovation capabilities development in developing countries, I think it is important to consider at least two dimensions. First, the policies that have to do with the effort to integrate into value chains, and secondly, policies that try to capture value within value chains. That is, entering into segments of higher value added, exploiting the opportunities for learning and innovation, developing local capabilities together with integration in the value chain. And indeed, much beyond the only innovation policy, there's a number of changes that need to be taken into account in two different kinds of policies. Trade policy itself needs to be rethought, as import protection can itself hinder the process of export development, contrary to what we used to believe some time ago, thinking that perhaps ensuring a temporary protection to domestic sectors could help them develop export capabilities in a little while. Exporting implies importing intermediate goods and services, and therefore trade policy needs to take this new element explicitly into account. Investment attraction needs to be rethought in terms of being consistent with the existence of value chains, the attraction of value chain and their leaders, their potential for developing local linkages, local procurement, development of local suppliers, and the same education and training policy as well as migration policy require a different analysis on the basis of the existence and the rising role of global value chains. Final slide, an initial effort that we are trying to develop to construct a typology of GVC and innovation-related policy interventions by using the simple framework developed with the Inter-American Development Bank in the book whose cover you see on the slide, where we classified policies depending on their scope, being horizontal or vertical, focusing on specific sectors, and operating through at least two possible channels, either through market intervention, that is modifying relative prices and modifying incentives to specific activities, and providing public inputs, club inputs, public goods that the government or government-related bodies could provide to the productive sector. Why would such a typology matter? In my mind, it would matter. It matters because it allows making it explicit whenever different organizations are required. What are the institutional conditions for the design and implementation of these policies? And it also highlights the possible risks coming from rent capture by few individuals and few firms, and how the different instruments need to take into account and moderate the risks involved in being captured by the interest of few actors. One interesting example that we explain in details is one specific kind of GDC-oriented policy that was developed in Costa Rica in the medical devices sector. This is an example of a vertical policy using market-based interventions whereby the process provided specific incentives and selected the attraction of a firm that was invited to invest in Costa Rica and invest in a specific segment that was missing in the local value chain, and that would hinder the process of linkage development across the chain and would not help developing the chain beyond some simple stages. This was carried out a few years ago and proved to be interestingly related to this process of chain integration and benefiting from chain integration to local firms. Concluding, I think the potential for enterprise innovation and upgrading is still there. Still, it needs to be sought after. Firm level investment need to play a role, as well as the GDC governance. We started exploring the co-evolution between GDC and innovation systems, and I think that a new research avenue needs to be pursued that has to do with how specific policies can help and can foster this process of co-evolution in a way that is favorable to local enterprise development. Thank you very much. I'm here for any question, and I'm sorry I'm not with you, but I'm happy we could share some ideas through this powerful means. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Petrobelli. You highlight the importance of the governance of GVCs and the impact on productivity. You talk about some of the firm level effects. You also discuss the linkages with innovation policy, and you provide some possible considerations in designing these policies for GVCs, linking the two. Are there any questions from the audience? Any questions to... Yes, actually, Professor Lee has a question for you. Professor Lee?
Thank you, Carlos, for first of all excellent lectures, for putting my own paper in your global context. But in the diagram you mentioned China's auto as one case of gradual upgrading. But in my data indicate China auto sectors, there's the period of declining foreign value shares. So I thought that China auto is also in and out in pattern. In other words, they experience some period of localizing value chain domestically. So I don't know how did you classify China as a gradual pattern? Maybe it depends upon sectors, but I'd like to hear your view on this.
Yeah, I think I would share your point. I mean, I'm convinced that the process we are observing in China is similar, with a strong emphasis in developing a national innovation system or different kinds of innovation systems at different levels. And definitely that's an additional example that is worth looking at in details, explaining how the co-evolution works. Absolutely. Thank you for the advice.
Thank you.
I look forward to discussing with you further.
Happiness.
Thank you. Do we have any additional questions? I think there's some connection also with the previous speakers, including Yuri Simachev, who talked about the role of the different interest groups. And in your proposal for innovation policy, you seem to suggest that these interest groups need to work together, that the innovation community groups with the industrial policy groups have to align their objectives and design instruments. Is that what you would say as well, Professor Petrobelli?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry I couldn't follow the details of the Russian speaker. Being in Russia and not having a translation here. So,
Yes.
I think my hint is that it is very related, and I think that one slide that Keun was presenting on possible avenues and strategies and how GDC concepts can be applied to natural resources and how the systems need to be adapted to these sectors is another powerful avenue that could be exploited in Russia. And I'm sure that there are already initiatives and activities that are being developed in this sense.
Yes. Thank you. I think we will now pass on. I'm not sure if you will stay with us or you will. The next speaker is Professor Dirk Meissner, who will talk about parts of the issues you discussed on the way JVCs can help us access external knowledge for firms to connect the inside the innovation system with the outside. And Dirk will talk about this, open innovation and global value chains. Dirk?
Okay, so this one does it work? Yeah. First, I changed the topic a little bit because we have a lot about value chains, a lot about policies, but let's have a look a little bit more micro level. What are companies actually doing? With the innovation part, it's one issue here. Business as usual, outsourcing, research, development, engineering, all this stuff. But we should be aware designing a policy, SDI policy, do we actually know what our companies need? Do we understand what are they doing every day in their activities? And I tell you already now, no we don't. And the policies, the reality at company level, these are too much different words. The only thing policy does is providing some subsidies, some grants, and everybody's happy. But we do not tackle the problem at the core. So, first, let's go quickly through it here, since we have a little bit shorter time. Where do we find any potential outsourcing parts? We take here the overall innovation process and activities, all innovation activities, somewhat embedded it in the product strategy, innovation strategy, with lots of ideas, opportunities. In the end, you have broad platforms. So you have different supports, processes at the one side, information intelligence. On the other hand, you have supporting processes about planning, product, and technology. This is the first point where it actually starts from policy. If you want to educate and build absorptive capacity inside the companies who can handle these issues, you need people, you need staff who can digest and collect information and digest that and process that in a coordinated, targeted manner, which requires that the student already in the primary school learns how to look for information, how to digest information. Look at the school curriculum today. In most countries, it's still the curriculum we had in 1950. No difference at all. Plus, and we go a little bit beyond SDI policy, education policy argues the way we do digitalization of schools. What is digitalization of schools? What do you think? In reality, it is a smartphone and a tablet. That's it. But not the competence, collect information, search for information, process and digest the information in a shape, in a way, but it's targeted for a purpose. That is actually what's going on here. And intelligence is not secret service. So it's just information searching. Which has a strong impact on the whole innovation process inside the company, which is also digital. So of course a little bit later. Now, outsourcing for R&D, why do the companies do that? Number of big issues. I think everybody knows is access complementary technology. Second, breaking the internal silos, getting some fresh ideas. Nothing else what they're doing here. We are here, they're just here, just let it talk and get some new fresh inspiration. Not the final solution, but the inspiration, just an idea. Reduction of cost and risk, of course, time to market, plus increasingly, and that's another policy dimension, you outsource for the simple reason that you can set a standard. Get as many on board as possible, but keep control over the process. And once you establish industry standard, you win the game. Last but not least, state-of-the-art awareness. So when you decide what to outsource from the company perspective, first, you check about the competitive impact and maturity, but still making sure you keep your internal competences. Take one example, take the automotive industry. Automotive industry, there is no OEM who can still design and manufacture a full car. Their competence is, Mercedes-Benz competence is not manufacturing and assembly. Their competence is writing product specification in terms of reference and having collaborative action. They don't do this stuff internally. They outsource it. And then they combine our systems with their final product. But not like 100 years ago where the car manufacturer did everything. So that's here the challenge for a company. Which competences do we keep in-house and which not? It's a big difference if you do your own engineering work internally or you simply write terms of reference and you ask somebody else to do it. The challenge comes here, the moment you outsource and then you buy it in. First, you have to check, did my partner do it on time, maybe appropriate quality and all the technical features. Check that, that's two different competence required for the company when earlier on. And that goes along always value chain stuff and always value chain discussion there earlier. Second, it's pretty complex technologies, that's what we see here. And here, you need different engineering competences combined with legal competences. So outsourcing engineering and R&D works is not only about asking somebody to do it for me, but you have the lawyer. It's all based on the contract, and that makes the whole thing more challenging. In turn, it also means, already for education policy, an engineer should possess a certain minimum standard of legal knowledge. You know exactly what happens. Just take your own case, where you're trying to formulate a contract for the collaborative research of a partner university. You don't do it on your own. You have a legal department. You start working together with legal department. You're just a simple ordinary scientist and you get mad and you talk to the legal department because they want to fix everything in each detail. And you say, no, it doesn't work. And the legal department says, cannot be so stupid, so different. Where is the crux? If you don't have a common language to share a common understanding, systems will fail. But even more here, in a dedicated development engineering. Siegesmonell, abilities and stuff. So, let's skip through quickly when we come to the policy here. You also need to consider about your business strategy, where do you want to go. The business strategy, take it in very simple words. The business strategy means you make cash. Where you follow the global policy trends, the more, the investor-friendly environment, subsidies and so on, you take it. Look at the European Union. Look at the European Union course of regional development programs and related. Back in 1990, we had Nokia, for example, in Western Europe. In the 1990s, Nokia decided, oops, we don't like Germany anymore, we go to Poland. It was up in Poland, much cheaper. They left Poland, they went to Romania in course of these subsidy programs. Now we also left Romania, we are going to Malaysia. Not as a bad example in the end, because they're just a minor player. but they missed and messed up the whole corporate business strategy. So it's a critical issue to set the right incentives, and I have just 5 more minutes. But in any case, you will have the slides self-explanatory. We don't need to think about the corporate strategy. Oh yes, corporate strategy, what you decide. You check about your competitive position and you check about the technology impact. Where you take a decision. Do you make it on your own? Do you collaborate? Do you outsource completely in all different forums? You can have a nice questionnaire, and when you come here for different forms of collaboration and outsourcing. So when we talk about outsourcing and the collaboration, it's not just one phase or method. It's not only a contract research or a collaborative research. That goes into shape like licensing, that goes in strategic alliances where you include the suppliers and the customers, that includes donations, scholarships, which you might give to partners, and so on and so on. It all depends on what is your core and what is complementary. Increasingly, and look especially at the ICT, information communication technologies, look at what they're doing. We establish the internal venture funds, and these venture funds provide corporate venture capital to buy out, so buy in spin-offs for research institutes and universities. The biggest guys, Google, Amazon, Microsoft. But you will not find is a venture fund, a venture capital fund called Amazon Venture Capital. Never ever. Different name, but huge budget. But look at Berlin, Germany. Amazon is the most active venture capital investor in Berlin. They invest in many startups, technical university mainly, with one reason, with one purpose. Either it's their next business, or they simply buy off, buy in the spin-off from the university to keep competition out. Obviously. But at the same time, just think about it, the Berlin Senate is happy. They say, hooray, Amazon invests today. But we are not aware that this company will not exist tomorrow anymore. So the myth about venture capital is a good thing to grow the economy. It's a myth, depending on who's behind. You have corporate venture capital, it is in economic terms negative, because they are there to promote innovation, to protect your business model. Obviously. Now, I want to focus and summarize slightly about what we see in our policy dimension, policy discussion. First of all, STI policy is a strong, long, endless focus on our lovely knowledge triangle, or you might also call it triple helix or whatever. The same stuff over and over again. Absolutely technology push driven. Absolutely all policy measures around the world, all countries do the same, are always saying more tech transfer from universities to industry. Nobody cares about what the industry is doing internally. Not really. What do we do eventually by policy means? We move universities from basic more to applied research. Or applied research or consulting. Equal our basis. Because you can only transfer what has been developed a little bit more in advance. Plus, if you move from the basic to the more applied research, that also impacts education. Because not only the new is coming, which is then being transferred to the students. This is a strong issue here. It's about complexities of frame and time frame, STI, and innovation is always a long-term issue. We need here more targeted policies. Be it place-based, or be it a time frame, it doesn't matter. But if you look at the full spectrum of policy issues, it's all very short term. With the inspection, we have a strong impact which we can measure in very short term. And that is my actual harshest criticism against our indicator evidence-based driven STI policy. They want to build indicators and measure everything. The only thing they cannot measure, one of the colleagues, is this one here, inside. There is a certain tested domain which is the crux in any collaborative effort. If it doesn't fit, Political operation doesn't work, but we cannot capture that in indicators. Unfortunately, our indicators colleagues are not in the room now. We can have a talk later. Absorptive capacities, but it's the same stuff. The usual discussion in the value chain here or the transfer discussion. Absorptive capacities. Yes, yes, yes. Everybody says absorptive capacity, that means the number of researchers, engineers, and PhDs. Absolute nonsense. Absolute. What you need is engineering skills, yes, plus the legal, plus a little bit marketing, and about the personality who is competent and capable and working together with others. Leaving out aside. It's a strong leadership. A fully different story. So what needs and requires a redefinition of absorptive capacities. Complementarities of capabilities, the similar story in the value generation. Last but not least, we always think and we always consider the value is generated where the product is developed. Goodbye. Doesn't work. So you have a nice center here preparing, say, a prototype for small-scale manufacturing. And tomorrow you see a nation country coming with a nice free trade zone, zero taxes, whatever, manufacturing, the economic value is developed somewhere else. And a heavy investment here, when you see, oops, the economics or return, I think it could be a little bit. So that is my short presentation. I had 0 minutes right on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dirk, for sharing your insights on the importance of thinking about how businesses, the business strategies for technology acquisition, whether it's inward or outward. We're about at the end of our session, but we have a few comments from our discussants. If Richard Berger from the EU delegation to Russia, I can invite him to say a few words.
I guess I'll take the microphone.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mario. And as a matter of fact, Mario, in the questions you've asked, you have already preempted some of the tasks that I was set, which of course was Mission Impossible. I was asked to comment and summarize the presentations, which I'm not going to do, not least because they were so rich that I'd find it impossible to summarize them in the 5 minutes that are given to me. What I'd rather do is share some of the observations, some of the observations I had listening to the presentations, and some of the questions I had, as somebody who used to work in academia and then changed and became a bureaucrat, or to use a more euphemistic word, the policymaker, or somebody who is part of the policymaking process. I found the combination of presentations very interesting because I thought they were very complementary. We had some very theoretical, some very academic contributions, and we also heard some, especially from Yuri and from Dirk, some more practical aspects about how the theoretical considerations of global value chains actually matter for the policymaker, either a state policymaker, a governmental policymaker, or a firm's policymaker. That is somebody who has to address and decide practical questions. What I found most interesting, or the questions I immediately had when listening to the presentations, was, to put it very simply, the vulnerability of global value chains. It seems to me that being part of a global value chain, either from a firm's perspective or from a country's perspective, is a luxury which one can afford for as long as the basic elements, the essential elements that make a global value chain or global value chains function, for as long as they remain in place. So as somebody who is part of a policy-making process, of a decision-making process, the first question that I would ask myself is, how vulnerable are these global value chains? And I think the potential shocks to external value chains are very real. It would be interesting, for instance, and maybe that's a topic for another discussion at another time, to look at the effects, and many studies have been done, of course, on that, to look at the effects of the breakup of the former Soviet Union and the breakup of the Comecon trading system, which clearly was a huge external shock to what, within the autarky of the Comecon system, would have been global value chains. I'm also asking the question because I wonder, will we be able in a couple of years' time to look back, if and when Brexit happens, and what will be the effects of the regional, at the minimum, if not global value chains of those companies, which will be very much affected by Brexit. And you notice I say if and when it happens because we don't know. But we already see, in expectation of the, or rather in anticipation of the expected Brexit, we see huge impacts on at least regional value chains that we have within the European Union. And therefore I thought that the comments that were made by the speakers about the interaction, and both Yuri and Dirk made that, the interaction between the different players or stakeholders, which on the one hand create and on the other hand depend on global value chains, are hugely important. And I was reminded, and for our German speakers I will first make the quote in German and then I'll try to translate it into English, although it's very difficult. I was reminded by the famous quote by Friedrich Engels, who said that was jeder Einzelne will, wird von jedem anderen Einzelnen verhindert, und was am Ende rauskommt, ist etwas, das keiner gewollt hat. What every single person wants to achieve in a collective is going to be prevented by every other single person, and the end result is something which nobody actually wanted. Now, I'm only making this comment half jokingly. If I look, for instance, as an example, as a practical example, if I look, I think many of you are familiar with the European Union's Framework Programme for Research and Innovation, Framework Programme 7, Horizon 2020, about which I will talk a little bit later in one of the next sessions. That is the definition of the European Union's multi-annual, multi-billion budget framework program. It's a 7-year research and innovation program which funds research and innovation activities across the European Union, has a budget of about 80 billion euros. The definition, or rather the design of the program, is a multi-stakeholder process which involves companies or representatives of the main companies, representatives of academia, of universities, of technology actors, of countries that pay into the budget. And it is very interesting to look at the evolution of the program, of a huge policy instrument. The program is a huge, very highly funded policy instrument, and to look at the evolution of the program from its initial proposal to what is finally decided by the European Council of Ministers. That is a study in developing a policy instrument in response to and also in support of global value chains. And I will only maybe quote or make one example without being able to go into it. As you know, one of the best known commentators and academics on many of the questions which we discussed today, Mariana Mazzucato, was invited by the European Commission to be a special advisor on the future design of a key element of the next framework program of the European Union, sort of the mission-driven part of the European Union, sort of big ticket issues that are to be addressed in a pan-European level. And I would invite you to look at the evolution from Mariana's initial proposal for the European Union's attempt to address big ticket issues, and what's finally come out of them in the final look of the next program. And I think I will leave it at that. I think here in Russia, and I go back to the presentation that Yuni made. He didn't mention it directly, but we see, for instance, the impact of the disruption and hence the vulnerability of global value chains under the impact of the changed international situation, and of course through the disruption of the originally historically very close industrial links between Ukraine and Russia. So I think although many of the questions that were addressed today looked very theoretical. In practice, they are highly relevant. And I think, and finally, the question I'm asking myself, again, as somebody who has changed from academia into bureaucracy or into policy making, is how to translate the insights that are contained in academic or intellectual studies of that kind into a policy-relevant decision-making process. That is very difficult. To propose change or to propose decisions from the outside and to make this system move 1 or 2 inches to the left or to the right from the inside. But that is something that I will leave for another discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard, for those comments. Indeed, I think global value chains are not new. I think they've been around for a while. I think we've realized now, as you said, there are some important differences, however, with past global value chains. One is the growing interdependence and the role that data is playing in the keeping the global value chains together. And so that's another issue for another discussion, is the role of open data, the role of big data, how this has become an important asset, not just R&D policy, but also data policy. So I think that would be another challenge for linking both the GVC and the innovation policy.